Hey all, Mike Robinson and Mike Gambrell with BlackHawk Paramotor USA. There's been some questions on the LITE Trike because we have made some changes. So we're going to try to clarify the changes that were made. Originally, the LITE Trike was set up standard for the kestrel cage. Now it's set up standard for the rhino cage, which means this portion here is now vertical.
Yep.
The backbone of the kestrel cage is angled. Therefore, we are now using these brackets here as adapters for the kestrel cage. So again, the LITE Trike here is standard for a rhino cage. You clarify what cage you have. If you want the kestrel or you have the kestrel cage, then these brackets will be sent. Right now I'm going to have Mike Gambrell demonstrate how to assemble these adapters for the kestrel cage.
These adapters are actually quite easy. You'll get 2 of them, and the easiest way to start this is you'll have 6 clamps that look like this. This adapter plate, when you put it on, goes to the outside of the frame like this, and you'll see that the holes will line up down here to mount it. You can take bolt, simply just drops right down into the clamp. You can drop it down into the bracket. Then there's a nut and a nylock washer. So you can just get those started.
We do have the nylon spacers that go in between the channel here as well. What we do is we put them in prior, before you put any bolts or anything in, and they are tight, so you will have to work them in there. But the good thing is that they stay in place when you do slide the bolts through.
So I just use a 10mm end wrench on the inside. The bolt head is captured within the clamp, so you can just tighten it up. You don't want to get these real tight at the moment until after you set the frame in there. But the idea is this sits in here like that, so you'll want the wing nut portion facing outside. So let me get this other one on real quick.
The total assembly time of the LITE Trike, including putting your motor on, is only about 10 minutes. After you've gotten used to doing it a couple times, it's maybe 5 minutes to undo these brackets, take your motor off. 3 quick release pins on the Trike. It comes completely apart and it will fit in the back of your Prius easily.
As Mike mentioned before, there's 2 plastic spacers that go within this channel right here. We just install those first. It's simple, you just push them in there. It's to keep you, so when you tighten these up, that you're not collapsing the channel itself. That's really about all there is to it. Just line up the holes. The next step is the bracket. Goes to the outside of the frame. And use these longer bolts. So there's 1, there's 2, and then a couple of nuts and washers.
All the nuts are lock nuts. Don't over tighten anything. All they need to do is hold the components together.
There's that, and where did my...
There you go.
There it is.
By the way, Heidi wasn't too happy when she walked out and found her beautiful purple Trike in pieces and her motor sitting over in the corner. We better make sure we get this thing back together exactly the way she had it.
Yep.
Again, don't over tighten the bolts. You are using nylon lock nuts.
Okay, that part's done. The next step is you're going to find that it comes with a little angle piece here. One portion of the angle is going to have a hole drilled right in the center. The other one's going to be offset. The offset one goes to the outside of the trike. The one that has the hole in the middle lines up right on top of this frame rail. It'll look just like this. This one you're going to need to have a socket. I like to put a piece of tape in the end of the socket to hold the nut in place, and then use a pair of needle nose pliers to drop the washer on it. So we'll just kind of flip this upside down like that. You want to hold that, Mike?
Got it.
Okay. And then I just put a piece of tape in there that works really well just to hold the nut while you get it started.
It has to be placed quite deeply in here, which is why he's using the extension and the tape.
Yep. So I just like to hold the washer, get it down in here, get it onto the bolt. There we go. And as I mentioned before, use a little tape inside a socket, holds the nut in place, so it's just easy to get down in here, and then is that spinning it?
Yep.
Okay. And then I just switch over.
And there's a slight angle that this needs to be placed at, and we'll explain it to you later. What Mike will do right now is just snug it up so we can still twist this bracket.
Okay.
I'm holding it to where I think the angle is. I'm actually matching the angle of the one we already put on. And we'll now see if that's going to work.
Yeah, well, we just got one more clamp to put on. All of these clamps, just remember when you put them on that the wing nut portion always faces outboard. That way you don't get it mixed up.
After you've put the clamps on, you want to take the rubber O-rings, open the clamps, and place them over the clamps themselves. We'll show you a detailed picture of that as well. The O-rings are just used to hold the clamp closed in the event that the butterfly nut comes loose or falls off. So right now I'm opening the clamps. They're ready to receive the main frame. In this case, we're just going to use the lower half of a kestrel frame so that you can see easier versus the whole unit itself. Ready, Mike?
I'm ready.
Okay,
So
here's the O-rings.
Need these.
I'd like to reiterate that. Do not over tighten the bolts. You want to be able to make slight adjustments so they fit the frame nicely, and then snug the bolts up. All right, Mike.
Let's put the frame in. Before we put the frame in, I've already done one side, but you're going to find that it comes with these collars. These just go onto the frame. You'll have one that goes on the vertical portion of the frame. All you have to do is just kind of spread them out and pop them on. Right here where the fuel tank is supported, you just put one in between there. And then on the aft portion of the frame, put the other one there.
Wow, you're using sailboat terminology. I like that.
Okay. So when we set it down in here, we just want to make sure that the sleeves line up with the clamps. And this is why we leave this a little bit loose so we can make some minor adjustments with it.
I just turned mine slightly and it fell right into place. So no forcing. I'll hold this one in place.
Yep, this one here needs to come in just a little bit more. Okay. And I think I just need a touch more on that one. Okay.
Once you've done all this one time, then it's simply taking the rubber O-ring off, loosening the wing nut, taking your unit off, and vice versa to put it back together. It's much, much quicker.
Easier if you just get one side started, and then you can come over to the other side and it pretty much just sets you up to line everything up. You can just flip the caps over. Okay, so anyways, you just get the one side started, leave it loose, then you can come over here, everything will line up, and you just get the clamp halves over.
Once all the clamps are started, the wing nuts are on, then you can go ahead and snug things up, and then you'll set the O-rings. She fits good.
Yeah. Just snug these up. They don't have to be incredibly tight. You don't need to take pliers to them and all that stuff. Just nice and snug with what you can get with your fingers.
We'll show you a detailed picture of how the O-rings go on. Pay attention closely to the wing nut. I have the wing nut parallel with the frame so that more of the rubber O-ring fits around the wing nut. There's not like a sharp edge there. Okay, we've completed the installation of the Kestrel weight shift frame with the adapters on the LITE Trike. Remember, the Kestrel weight shift does not have the additional hump. This hump is used for the Kestrel high hang point or the Rhino, which is high hang point. There's a couple other questions that have been asked by you purchasers, and that is, how do the wheels go together? Which is the front and which are the two back ones? And Mike will explain that for you clearly.
This is real simple. You're going to have two wheels that look the same if you look inside. Those two wheels that look the same are your rear tires. Okay, you'll notice that the bearing hub extends all the way out into the wheel where your inflation valve is, and that faces to the outside. So that would be one on the outside there and one on the outside here. You'll have the bolt heads facing inboard. Okay, the deep dish with the inflation valve and this bearing hub, which comes all the way out, will always be to the outside. Your front tire is going to have the bearing hub coming out on the, not the deep dish portion of it, but on the other side, stuff opposite the inflation valve, and you're going to notice that part of that hub is actually on the inside here. That gives you the proper alignment for the front tire with the spacer sleeves. The long one goes into the deep dish side, and the short one goes to the shallower side. It'll look just like that, and it centers your wheel. Okay. The other one that comes up a lot is the pins that hold the wheels on to the axles. You'll have two that are short. You'll note them, you can hold them up side by side. You have one that's short and you have one that's long. Okay, so there's two long ones go to the front wheels. The two short ones go to the rear wheels. If you try to use the long one in the rear wheel, you'll never get it. It's too long. It just doesn't fit. So the short ones for the rear, long ones for the front. It's pretty simple. And that pretty much covers the questions, Mike. The only other one is these sleeves for adjusting for your seat, for your leg length.
That's right. In the first video, we mentioned that we were going to be developing sleeves. These sleeves allow you to adjust the front of the trike for longer legs or shorter legs. You'll notice here the additional holes that are drilled. You can add one sleeve, you can add another sleeve, you can take it apart and just go with one sleeve. There's multiple variations. In my case, I don't use any sleeve. I go straight to here. So for shorter legs, no sleeves.
Longer legs, more sleeves.
We like sleeves.
And that just spaces it out. It's real simple. So tall or short, you can adjust the length accordingly just by putting the sleeves in.
Overall, this is by far the strongest trike on the market. It is very mobile, and it performs beautifully for weight shift or high hang point. If you have a frame of a different manufacturer than ours, give us the bottom dimensions of the frame, and we'll see if we can't get you adapters so that you too can utilize such a great LITE trike.
We have in the past had people that have different products than ours, but they want our trike, so they've been able to send us the dimensions of what the base is, and we've made adapter plates for them so that they can just go ahead and set theirs right onto our trike. It works fine.
Yeah, it's not that difficult. So,
Nope.
Well, Mike, I think that about sums it up.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Very simple. If you have any questions whatsoever, please call us at BlackHawk Paramotor USA 209-786-7899.